How's everybody doing today? Got our bellies full?
Yeah.
All of you are afraid. Everybody's afraid of the storm. Don't feel bad. I'm afraid of the storm too. You can bet your bottom dollar when Johnny Savage looked over the bow of that boat, he was afraid of the storm. And here's the thing about the storms. We've never seen our last one. There's always another storm coming. And it doesn't matter if it's the bite of a blizzard, if it's the howl of a hurricane wind, or if it's simply getting soaked in the rain. When we see those storm clouds roll in, we want to seek shelter. What is going to determine your success or your happiness in this life is all going to be based on how well you weather the storm. I've seen a few storms in my day. I was adopted when I was 2 years old. I was molested by my brother and sister. And for me, that manifested itself in eating my face off, ballooning up to 300 pounds, and doing absolutely horrible in school. I spent most of my life thinking that I was stupid well into my 30s. With no real career options, I decided to join the United States military. I spent 8 years as an infantry paratrooper, taking the first team into the Pentagon on 9/11 and volunteering for a combat tour in Iraq, where I completed over 800 convoy missions, gunning for Monocacy J3. I would come out of that tour in the military and I would transition poorly. I would find myself getting fired from the first job I ever got outside the Army, which ironically was selling gym memberships. I would get my car repossessed, find myself evicted, wind up homeless, and go through the first of 2 divorces before I would ultimately bottom out and find myself attempting suicide. It was locked in the psych ward that I would hear this quote for the first time. It's from Chief Wilma Mankiller. And yes, that is her real name. I don't know how she got it. What she talks about out in the Midwest, the way the storms come in, the topography holds them in place. So you can't go any other direction. Now, when the cows see the storm coming, instinctually they do what makes sense. They turn and they run from the storm. I don't know how many of you ever spent any time around cows, but they're not the quickest of animals. And so the storm always catches them. And they run at the mercy of the storm. Now the buffalo, perhaps the most American of all animals, is unique in the animal kingdom. They are the only animal that does this. When they see the storm clouds rolling in, collectively, as a group, they turn and they go right at it. Now the buffalo still suffers. There is no avoiding suffering in this life. But the buffalo suffers for a much shorter time period because they pass through the storm. And laying in that hospital bed, strapped to it in the psych ward, I could look outside and I could see a sunny day. But the only thing I felt around me in that room were the dark storm clouds. And reading this quote, I knew the path out was through. And that's why I've created the herd. Our motto is to live our life, head down, horns up. We don't run from it, we run through it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to go out in storms, in adverse weathers, well, you're going to find poor road conditions. And the Jeep community has a saying, yours may go fast, but mine goes anywhere. In the race to exceptionalism, it's not about getting there quickly. It's about not getting bogged down in the mud and the muck that leaves everybody else stranded on the side of the road. So if you're going to go through the storms in life, you got to embrace your country boy, and you need to lock in your 4x4. The first set of the 4x4 is the Power 4, and the Power 4 is powerful. On my first day in Recruit Class 31, Captain Brown said to us, you cannot save anyone if you are dead. The Power 4 is your self-saving. It is where you check in every day to make sure that you're doing the things you need to do so that when the time comes to serve others, you can. We begin with wake 1 hour earlier. Bill Watterson once said, there's not enough time in the day to do all the nothing we want to do. And therein lies the problem. In my industry, the number one complaint I get is, I don't have a time to work out. Shh, be quiet. You don't have to go full Jocko. You don't got to get up at 4:30 in the morning, up before the enemy. Just 1 extra hour early will do. Because 1 extra hour early a day gives you the equivalent of almost an 8th work day. Now, if you want to take it to the next level, just refuse to be average. You see, the average American spends 2.25 hours scrolling social media. They spend another 3.1 hours streaming their favorite service. Add it all together, it's 44 hours a week. You can literally work overtime on your dream as a part-time job. How insane is that? 30 minutes of self-improvement. One of my favorite movies of all time is Goodwill Hunting, and I love it when he puts this yuppie in his place. He says, congratulations, you spent $150,000 on an education you could have got for $150 in late fees. Everybody believes that higher education requires going to college, and as we look around, we're starting to see that return on investment just isn't there. The truth, you have more computing power in your back pocket than the Apollo mission had to put a man in the moon. And what are you doing with it? Keeping up with the Kardashians? Checking the score of a football team you don't even play on? Imagine if you used it, or any other resources like that $150 in late fees at the library, to do 30 minutes of self-improvement. At the end of every year, you would have accumulated 12 college credits for the rest of your life. Growth is infinite, and it doesn't have to cost you an arm and leg. Journaling. Journaling is where we check in. It's where we know who we are and where we are headed. When we're in the Army, one of the things that we teach to young soldiers is land navigation. And whenever we teach a soldier land navigation, we always give them one crucial piece of information. It's called your known point. Because if I don't know where I'm at, how could I possibly shoot an azimuth to my goal or my dream? And here's what's amazing about it. Being off by 1 degree, it doesn't sound like a lot. Bet at a mile, you're 90 feet off target. If you're looking for that proverbial needle in a haystack, do you think you'll find it? What about your big, hairy, audacious goal? What if you're trying to change the world? That's kind of like going from San Francisco to Washington, D.C. If you're off by 1 degree, you'll wind up on the other side of Baltimore. If you spend any time in Baltimore, you know you don't want to be in Baltimore. So make sure you take this time to check in with who you are. Look at the terrain, compare it to what you think, and make sure you stay on course. Proclamation. At my gym, Soldierfit, every one of our members, affectionately known as troops, they wear a t-shirt, and on the front of it is a dog tag. And inside that dog tag are 2 very important words. I am. And I was asked, why did you put I am on the front of your shirts? Because everything you say after I am, you are. If you say I'm a loser, then lose you shall. If you say I've got bad genetics and I can't lose weight, then you will never lose weight. But if you start to say that I am someone that is committed, I am a good father, I am a good spouse, I am a great business leader, you will start to put together the piece of all the puzzle you need to arrive there. The first step to manifestation is to put it into the universe. So make sure that whatever you say after I am is crafting the person you want to become. The 4 F-bombs. Now, sometimes I have a potty mouth. And I want you to know, Jason said he would never say the F word, and I will not say it here either. But a lot of people get offended by it. Here's what's crazy. They completely ignore the real F-bombs that are destroying their life. These F-bombs are the things that are silently ticking away. You don't even hear it. You wish you would hear it, but you don't. Until that is, they blow up and your world starts to crumble down around you. The first of the 4 F-bombs is your fitness. Now, what's important about the F-bombs is you're going to do daily defense to make sure that clock never gets to 0. Fitness is the greatest force multiplier there is. You have 100% control what you put in your mouth and what you do with your body. Are you a child? I don't think so. Fitness is where we learn discipline. Fitness is the easiest place for you to start to put together a plan and let that plan come to fruition. I have never met anybody that became a worse person after they got in shape. As a matter of fact, the only thing you do worse when you are in shape is die. I encourage you all to not start with the superficial. So many people start with 6-packs or wanting to look good on the beach. Start with something that matters. And for my parents out here, if you want to start over, I tell you, look in your children's face. Tell them, Mom or Dad, we're going to start a workout plan. We're going to go 3 days a week. We're going to eat healthy. And then quit. Right in front of them while they watch. and then try to give them some rah-rah speech later about how to push on when life gets tough after they watched you fold like a cheap lawn chair by just going to the gym 3 days a week. Start with your fitness. It'll change everything. Function. Function ties together your career and your faith. Because if you believe you were put on this planet for a reason, then you believe you have a purpose. And if you believe that, you believe the Creator gave you skills and traits to make this happen. Once you start to see your job as more than a job, but a calling, it will allow you to face every obstacle as an opportunity. You won't just walk to the storm, you'll run. Finances. Money can't buy happiness, but neither can poverty. We always hear people talk about how bad money is. Money is just a revealer. If you're a jerk with money, you'll be a bigger jerk. If you're a generous person with money, you'll give freely. But here's the thing about money. People that don't have it choose to be broke. Just like you choose to be fat, just like you choose to be lonely, just like you choose to be unhealthy. You chose. And I lived like this for years. I had a 420 credit score. What changed was I stopped blaming everyone else. It's not the president's fault. It's not the spouse's fault. It's not your parents' fault. It is your fault. The best advice that I can ever give when it comes to finances is understand this. No one is coming. It is up to you. So plan accordingly. Family. Family is where I talk about balance. Because one of the things I started to understand in the fitness industry, because 70% of our clientele was female, is mom guilt. And I really didn't understand it. I actually call it mom syndrome, where we put everyone else before ourselves and we don't take care of ourselves to the point that we actually start to resent the people we care about. And don't think that you're alone. Dads are filled with doubt. Am I doing enough at work? Am I doing enough at home? And the reason people struggle with this so much is the belief that there is balance. Balance is bullshit. It doesn't exist. You will never get every scale measured out perfectly. You're never going to get the exact same amount of time at work, exact same amount of time with your spouse, exact same amount of time with the kids. To try is a fool's errand. But what you can do is be intentional. You can be focused. You can be driven. You can put the phone down when you're playing ball with them. Because here's what will happen if you don't. If you bring it home, it won't take too long before they stop to see it as you're doing it to provide for them, to protect for them. And they will start to see it as you're doing it for your ego. And before you know it, all of the work that you're putting in will once again blow up in your face. I'd like to take this back to where I first began. I'm often asked, what scares you the most about your suicide attempt? What do you think would have happened if you had been successful? And I always tell people, I'm not afraid of dying. I've been blown up, I've been shot at, I've been in buildings on fire, and I've seen a lot of people that I cared about and were close with pass away. I've come to terms with death a long time ago, and it will come for us all. It's the one storm we cannot run. But what scares me most about my suicide attempt is not that I wouldn't be here. It's that they wouldn't be here. River Lynn and my little Willow Wynn, who I affectionately call the honey badger, because she doesn't, well, you know what honey badgers don't do. I have seen the way the room lights up when they walk in. I've seen the joy they bring, and I cannot wait to watch the impact and change they will do in this world. You have no clue the void your absence would leave. You have no clue the ripples it would remove from the pond that reflect the light that give it life. If you're locked in a storm right now, you can have the life of your dreams. After all, after every dark rain cloud, there comes a rainbow. There's only one way, though. You must remember, the fastest way out is through. So lock in your 4x4 and charge. Head down, horns up. Salute.